This is good. This is good. I think it's going to be good.
Okay, so I need to be farther in. The challenge is getting it where I can see and the camera can see.
Okay, we are live, I guess.
Okay. I watched a little bit of your test one, but it was mostly in Japanese, so that was.
Yeah. All right, this is the Sashiko live streaming with my friend, guest Sharon. Thank you so much for coming today. And this is the first time, this is the first live streaming as the Sashiko Talk. We will talk about Sashiko as the casual conversation. We haven't talked about the topics. We have not decided any script. This is going to be just stitching and talking. If I see any comments on the live streaming, we will try to talk about it, but it's going to be just stitching and talking about what we do. All right. Thank you so much for Sharon to come over to this meeting. Not a meeting, this talk. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me.
It's going to be fun. Let's see how it's going to go. So nervous. By the way, this is Sakura. This is Sakura. Can you say hello? Can you say hello to everybody? Hello to everybody, huh?
Oh, there I have another view and I can see your cat.
She was not happy to be on the camera. She's never be happy. It's getting hot. So how long have you been practicing Sashiko? The first time you took my workshop was 2 years. No, not even 2 years ago. Was it?
Yeah, you're kind of Sashiko probably a year and a half. Yeah. And before that, I think I have an aunt who is married to a Japanese fellow and they lived in Japan, and she kind of got me interested in vintage Japanese textiles.
Right.
And then I started to repair them. And so I learned some Sashiko, but I used to do it from the front side, bumping my needle against a metal plate.
I remember that,
Yeah. And this is much faster, and you can draw the pattern on. And so, every once in a while, if I'm putting patches on, it's sometimes best to work from the front so you can tell where you are. But yeah, so a year and a half, I think.
Wow. I used to have it's very bad to say it, but I used to have a kind of wondering if only Japanese people can do what I did. I don't know why, the hand, size. Sometimes those things might be the obstacle, but you changed it. You are the one who think that it's all excuse that I say myself as a teacher that if I say I cannot teach, it's because of me. So I hope you can share some of your work later on.
Okay.
I mean,
I have some here. Yes.
Whenever you want. Whew. It's kind of difficult to talk and stitch, right? Especially it's in public.
It's true.
It is something. But like once we get in the engine, that's not that difficult. I was talking to Sharon, but it's very difficult to self-talk for hours and 2 hours. But it's not that difficult as long as I am on the rhythm. But as I'm very old gas type Chevy, it takes forever to even start the engine.
Is that part of why you did it in Japanese first? Then you were kind of going?
Japanese first is, why did I do Japanese first? Oh, that's probably from the old habit. I used to do every morning in the US time, which is the Japanese night time. And I didn't want to offer the Japanese live stream so late.
Right.
So but there's no reason that I have to do the Japanese first, because I have to really stop what I'm doing and then restart it. So it's like driving the well, I don't know why I used the car as an example, but driving Prius for 2 hours and jump into 60s Chevy. So, but if I
My dad,
go ahead.
oh, sorry. My dad bought an old Porsche that has a clutch, and I drove it home after he had some repairs done on it. And then the next time I drove my regular car, I kept trying to get on the clutch, but I don't have one. So
This clutch is like a stick.
yeah, a manual transmission.
My car is manual, although it's 2019.
That's unusual.
Cheapest car I could find.
I'll tell you what, when you send your daughter to college, that's the
Uh-huh.
car to send with her, because then no one can borrow it because they won't know how to drive it. We did that. It worked out really well.
That's a fantastic idea, but I don't know if my daughter can drive.
Well, not yet.
Not yet. Absolutely not. Well, maybe next year or something. Oops, my stitching is not on the, just a second, okay? My stitching was not on the camera. But if I move, just I will ask them. Can you hear this or 聞こえますか？大丈夫そう？聞こえてたら教えてもらえるとちょっと助かる。Just a second. Sorry. よいしょ。ね、マニュアルいいですよね。Oh, sorry, I was speaking Japanese. There was a comment in Japanese. It's Porsche. You said Porsche?
Porsche, yeah.
Wow, it must be rough.
Oh, it's funny. He was a fighter pilot when he was young, and he's 85 now. And he said, I think that now I can probably be trusted to drive it safely. So it's an old one. It's, but it's cute. It's fun. It has like racing stripe seats, and I don't know, but you get used to your car that has all these safety features, and it feels a little strange to just be in this little tiny thing so close to the ground with no accident prevention. So I don't know. It's fun.
It's a different rhythm, right? Even the stick is also a different rhythm.
Yes. And there's something really funny about it. Where first is very hard to get into.
Oh.
So I guess the guy that he bought it from said he always just started in second unless he was on a hill. I could see where it would be easier, but I don't know. It's funny.
Well, it's good. Somebody has to, it's gonna be all there will not be any sticks probably 10 years, 20 years from now, because everything will go to EV.
It'll all be electric. Yeah, that's true.
But somebody got to keep this tradition. I mean, it's very bad for the environment, and I understand we have to move, sustainable. But it's so silly to say that it's art, because I say Sashiko is not art. Now I'm saying driving a Porsche with stick is the art.
I know what you mean, though. It's a skill. It's a skill.
Yes, that's something we have to appreciate. I mean, it was my dream to drive a stick sport car, so I was different. I wasn't like this. I'm perfectly fine with the Prius now, but before, like, old Porsche sounds super great. But yeah, if I start driving Porsche and start saying how to get money, please please ask the money back. That's not where I want to go. I'm not doing this for that.
Well, and you know, when you're as old as my dad, if you still want one, maybe you'll get one.
Maybe old one, the good one.
Yeah.
So this is what the Japanese people used to do in Japan. Like, I talked about it yesterday in the live streaming in Japanese too, but it is kind of difficult to talk about Sashiko while do Sashiko. It is the live streaming's goal is to share what Sashiko is, but at the same time, this is the place where we can talk about anything. It doesn't have to be Sashiko, but stitching and talking was very ordinary practice for Japanese, I guess. So that's what I like to pass down. It's fun, and you don't probably focus on the result that much, correct?
No,
Like,
just enough to make sure I've smoothed the tension.
Exactly. So you really don't focus on the each stitches. You just don't make sure that you don't stitch somewhere or you're not,
Right.
following the line.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, do you know if American culture had similar things like getting together and stitching
A
together?
quilting bee.
Oh, that's right.
That's where the women would all get together, and they would be often working on the same quilt together to finish it for a friend or for a wedding gift or something. But that's the same kind of thing where they would sit together and stitch and talk. And I don't think there's anything like that anymore. Everybody's too busy working.
Right. So did it happen pretty much everywhere in the US or just specific state or specific?
I don't know.
Like there's an Amish around us. They do have a beautiful quilting culture.
Yeah, they may still do it. I don't know.
They say they do, I guess. Well, at least they sell those, and it's a good business, I guess, for them. So it's really interesting. I think many people think Sashiko is something unique. It is something unique because of the Japanese culture. But the stitching, stitching what we do right now itself is not that unique. Anybody was probably doing that.
Right, because there was American quilting and there's Indian kantha, and it's the same stitch.
Same stitch. There's a lot of countries, cities. I think every city, every town, every community had some name for that. It might be just stitching.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was just the practicality of needing things to last.
Right. So it's not something very new. In fact, it's probably too old to understand because we decided to discontinue.
Yeah.
We as like our parents, grandparents, ancestors. There we go. That's the word. It is so interesting to recreate those moments. Oh, I next time I will make sure that I have a board. Well, which I probably can't do now. Just a second. Say like this is the one of the problem is that people don't understand what we're doing right now because it's the live streaming and I cannot add any caption.
Yep.
And probably you cannot see it because you're on this iPhone or cell phone.
Oh, I figured out I've got 4 screens, so I can see you're working too.
Are you using a computer?
No, on my iPhone, it's showing me 4.
Wow.
One is empty.
Empty. Interesting. Sashiko. Oops. Well, I have to kind of think what is the best. Sashiko, this is the Sashiko Talk, and then we are happy to. Wow.
Can you add it at the beginning later?
Well, it should be in the description.
Yeah.
So, but it's not that well. I mean, that's how it is.
Is your daughter back in school?
Yes. It's funny though. Has been snowing pretty badly in Pennsylvania. Each school, I guess, have those snow days, right? Snow days,
Right.
reserve day. This year, since they established the remote system, they don't even call it snow day. They call it a remote day.
They call it what?
Remote day.
Remote day. Oh, surprise, surprise. So she's in school, but not.
Yes, so she is technically in school. She's going to school, yet she is right next to me saying, "Daddy, daddy, daddy." So like,
Oh, man.
We live in a little different world.
Yeah.
It must be very difficult to be a teacher at this age. But yeah, she sees a lot of me stitching, so I think she will be interested in Sashiko at some point. But at this moment, until she really asks me to teach her, I would like to avoid teaching.
Right. You don't want to make her learn.
Yeah, I don't want to force, of course. I don't want to force her to do it because I didn't like it when I was a child. At the same time, I really want her to do other things besides Sashiko.
Ah.
Okay.
What does she like right now?
What?
What does she like right now?
Oh, it's really talking, kvetching. So she should be a good lawyer. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. See, this is something I have to be very careful to live streaming. So, well, that's how we make a joke. But yeah, she is very good at talking.
My middle son is a lawyer, and he was also very good at talking and negotiating, and he is a very good lawyer. My daughter is also good at negotiating, and she is she's a manager at a car dealership and does very well as too. Uses the skills in a little different way.
Talking is very good, especially in English. You have to have a logic to talk.
Yes.
Talk back. In Japanese, sometimes you don't need logic. But the very significant one was that we had a fight, like myself and my daughter, and I kind of told her that under this roof, famous phrase, under this roof, you have to listen to me, to the 5-year-old daughter. What she replied was not even crying. She told me, "Well, it is your responsibility to feed me." Right. It is my responsibility to feed you, but that's not the point because you didn't listen to me. You didn't do your chore. She said, "Well, that's your responsibility." Like, wow, I don't.
She's so clever.
Yes, like, please don't tell that I didn't feed you for lunch to the child service because I might be in trouble. So, okay, sure.
Well, the other thing is you have to feed her, but you don't have to give her ice cream or all the wonderful things.
Exactly. So
bread and milk.
But the food is in the fridge. She knows what to say. But I think that's the beauty in the US. That's a logic that every single logic is a good thing. It is the same in Japan too, and the Japanese, in order to be successful in Japan in today's society, logic is very important. But so yeah, she's very good at talking. She likes talking. But Sashiko is very simple after all. Some of my artisans I know, they spend 60 years, 70 years in stitching. That's one way. That's one way to be the artisans. At the same time,
Mhm.
I think, as I always write, stitches reflect who we are. So my stitch is different from yours. There's like a categorization. My stitches might be look like somebody's, but since the stitches reflect who we are, which means what we went through, what we have been through, even if she wants to be the Sashiko artist or Sashiko artisans in the future, I want her to do, things that I wouldn't be able to do.
Mhm.
She's privileged. She's very, I mean, she was born in the US with Japanese possible citizenship and Israeli citizenship. That's a very big privilege.
Yeah.
So it's up to her to utilize that while I'm feeding her. Ah, that was so scary. Oh, that's much easier to keep going. Yeah, thank you so much. I will continue the live streaming like this. Actually, both. I will probably. By the way, do you hear me well?
I can
Sharon?
hear you. Yes.
Can or just very weak?
No, it's good.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay.
It's fine.
The mic was pretty far. Yeah, I'll continue this live streaming like that.
My aunt is a textile artist who makes really beautiful things. And she had a friend who found a bolt of denim that had gotten moldy, and it had all these really curious marks, and some of the fabric was kind of thin. And so the friend gave some of it to my aunt, who made some really nice projects out of it. And then she made a jacket for herself. And she used a sewing machine to sew it and did all this. And then she thought it needed some sashiko stitching because she called the denim accidental boro because it had just gotten really worn because it wasn't stored properly. But she did not enjoy doing the stitches and the stitching. And I could tell when I looked at it, it was really disturbing to me. It was like, why did you do this when you didn't like it? Because it shows all over the jacket to me. It was really funny. So not only do the stitches, are they different for different people, but I think they display a lot of how you're feeling and what you're thinking. And
Yep, it does.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a scary ability to have because I could tell how angry my mother is by looking at her.
Oh boy.
Or like
she would probably never say it.
How happy she is, or how something is happening. Like she probably found, let's say she found some nice antique vintage fabric, but she didn't tell me that she bought it. You really can tell, oh, mom, what's going on? Like something's going on. And she's like,
oh, that's from her stitching. That's great.
So it's scary. It's really scary. But I think that's what I am very good at. I didn't, since I was born in the family, I had to stitch, but I didn't like stitching. I really didn't like Sashiko. Like I despised it. But I had to look at many artisan stitches result throughout my life. So I can kind of tell what kind of I knew that which stitches was which person's by just looking at it.
By looking at
when I
them.
was a child. So that helps. Well, thank you so much, Walidi-san. Sharon's voice is very clear, but Atsushi's voice is a little bit low. I will check it. Thank you so much. It's probably the mic.
Was it too far away?
Yeah, this.
But you can move your elbows, and I'm I'm sitting in a chair with this silly rack over my lap.
Oh, don't worry about it. It was the same yesterday too.
Okay.
Thank you, Lily-san. Thank you so much. It's probably better now. And my voice is very difficult to hear too. Like, it's really low and it's not clear. How do you call that? Non-clear voice? Is there any word for that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Mumbling, but you don't mumble.
It's not like same as mumbling.
No.
Like muted. There we go. Muted voice. Muffed voice.
Muffled.
Muffled. English is so difficult. Who made this language?
I've started trying to learn Japanese. English is simple.
I disagree with that. I mean, Japanese is very difficult language, but English is so. And not bad. It's beautiful, but that's probably it's.
They're both hard in different ways.
Yep. Well, this is probably very good, but the problem is I cannot use my. I'll figure it out. So you're learning Japanese? That's awesome.
Slowly.
Well, I'll probably force you to speak when we go to Japan.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Probably.
Oh,
Where?
When do you think?
Well, we will try 2012, not 12, 22. What do you think?
22. Yeah.
21 fall, not this summer, I guess. Not this May. May is real scary because we don't know about the vaccination. Fall is probably a possibility, but
22 is probably more likely.
More likely.
Yeah, because you have to have time to plan.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make it like a big one. I just want to go. It was canceled, so I really want to go with my friends. So
I saw some pictures of a bamboo forest in Kyoto. I would like to add that.
Sure, just keep adding.
Yeah, I mean, it may only take half an hour. Go and walk around for a few minutes, but it was very pretty.
Sure, just keep the collecting. Please keep collecting those links of what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's not. I'm not gonna be like a tour company. It's just pretty much bringing the people who I became friend with to Japan, and But this is gonna be it. It's just gonna be in person in Japan. We will talk. We will eat some Japanese food, but we will be stitching like this.
Yeah, and I want to watch your mother make some boro to be.
She will probably teach is the kind of different word, like share how she would do it.
Yeah.
But she might not show how she do it.
Ah.
She's a very secretive person. She is, how can I say? She's very humble to the extremely rude. She still thinks she's not good. That's pretty rude. I mean, because she's good. She's obviously
she
good.
makes beautiful things. Yeah, her jackets. Oh.
But she thinks that's not good enough.
Is she aiming for perfect?
I don't know. It's probably some psychological damage that we cannot explain.
Oh, okay.
So she really preferred. Well, she can teach. She can show you how to stitch. She can, do things. But she doesn't really share the moment of stitching like I do in front of the live streaming.
Right. Not even in person? She wouldn't be stitching on a project. She would just kind of be stitching a little demonstration instead.
Demonstration is fine. Demonstration is really fine because she does stitch in front of the people and she shows it as a demonstration. But stitching itself is, I think she's kind of putting some spirit in it. It's kind of scary way to say it. And she might be kind of exhaling some.
Okay.
Sorry.
So she does that privately.
That's too creepy. But she mumbles when she dies thread. She kind of whispered to the thread like, be a good one, be a good one.
Oh.
Not be a good one. Be helpful thread for the artist.
Oh, she's blessing it.
Yes, she believes those things and she practiced that to the very, it's kind of creepy, even as a son. But we cannot stop that, so it's all good. And that's why she doesn't really show her actual process of making it. She can demonstrate, she can share what she does. She was actually in the show once for the company to kind of demonstrate whole day. So she can do that when it is for that purpose, but she doesn't really show. Well, I thought that was only to me because I was a son, but when the Japanese friend visited her, she didn't. She kind of went back to her room and stitched.
She won't stitch in front of you, Ethan?
Huh?
Not in front of you.
No, not in front of me too.
That's very private. That's interesting.
And she sometimes say that my Sashiko complete when she dies. I have no idea what that means, but it's so scary. What do you mean by my Sashiko completes when she is gone? Like
yours or hers?
Mine.
Oh.
Am I gonna be taking over by her when I don't know.
Well, maybe it's sort of like you're not really an adult until your parents have passed away, and then you're next in line and you face your mortality a little bit more. Maybe it's kind of like that. I don't know.
I mean, I'm a big believer of Shinto, which is, animism, so spirit and stuff like that. I'm a big believer. So it's not as creepy as the other people, but it is still. Her Keiko's grandmother, so my great grandmother was kind of shaman type person. We call it miko. The Japanese, there's a word for that, miko. The person, a girl or lady who serves to the shrine, which I think calls shaman. So we have that tradition, not even tradition, like a blood. So she might be it. Regardless, she is a very lovely person. She is a genius in my understanding. And as I always say, a nightmare as a mother. You don't want to
your
have
mother?
My mother?
The grandmother.
My mother.
Oh.
I mean, she's a very good artisan or artist. And you don't want to have an artist as your mother.
Oh.
That's like a equivalent of you don't want to have a counselor as your wife because
sorry. I have a good friend who has her mother was an artist. She's gone now, but my friend's house is filled with all this really unusual, some of it very beautiful and some of it very disturbing art. And so I said to her, well, did your mother sell a lot of things? And she laughed. She said she never sold anything. She just made all this stuff. But I guess, and she was very creative, but I don't think she was the best mother because she was so busy creating things and living in that world.
That's my point. So artists is a very respected. I respect the artist and I wish I could be one of those, but as the family, like a straight mother, I sometimes don't understand what she's talking at all. We speak the same language, Japanese, but I just cannot understand what she's talking. There's no, usually we talk A to the B, B to the C, therefore D, kind of like that, right?
Right.
She kind of is like counting numbers all of a sudden. it's not an A, B, C, D. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that's not the same stage. So difficult.
So does she ever stitch with with friends?
The answer is I don't know.
Ah.
Because those kind of communities pretty secretive too.
Okay. That's a more Japanese thing, I think, than American.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know many Japanese who kind of share the stitching like without editing like this. Probably there are more people now because of the live streaming with the new generations, but it wasn't something to share or something to show like this.
When it was finished. Yeah.
When it was finished, yes, we could share that, but the practice itself was, so they get together, but they don't really share the stitches together. Like, they don't even look at what they're stitching. It's kind of,
Oh, they wouldn't look at each other's projects?
they might, the project itself might be, but the doing as a process was probably very personal space. So of course the person can ask what the other person is stitching, but not a criticizing, but commenting somebody's rhythm would be very over the line. Probably that's only my imagination because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But that's how private. That's probably the sanctuary-ish. I believe in my workshop, in my class, I never judge the rhythm. I encourage people to try different rhythm, but I never said your rhythm is wrong or your rhythm is bad, because that's really is, the rhythm is who you are. So commenting on that is pretty much making a comment on who they are. That's pretty big no.
You said that when you learned, it was really not, there was no teaching. You just watched and then you did it.
Yes, I watched and they expect me to do it. Horrible. I don't like Japanese culture. I mean, I do love Japanese culture.
Yeah.
But so, I use this thimble. And some people use the index finger. Some people use the middle finger. Some people use not this finger. But the teaching curriculum, teaching package that you received or the other students received is pretty much my conclusion after a lot of detours. Because I couldn't do it for a long time. It's like a cheat sheet. You can get it faster and easier.
Yeah. Right.
Which you stitch probably faster than I do. Come to think of that, I'm working on the same, furoshiki that you finished already.
But that's because I had more hours. I was home while my parents were recovering from surgery, and that was something I could pick up and put down and pick up and put down.
Okay. I was so jealous though. Okay, there was a question on the YouTube. Can you discuss the use of knots, no knots in Sashiko? You don't use them, but some of the books I have from Japan do. Is there variety in the tradition among stitches, or are the books oversimplified? So the question is about knots. I hope I will read it again. I'm sorry, because this question will not be recorded on the live. So I will read the question again. Sorry. Can we discuss the use of knot and no knots in Sashiko? The Japanese don't use them, but some of the books available from Japan do. And is there variety in the traditional among stitches, or are the books oversimplified? The answer is that you can make knots and you can make no knots too. You don't have to make knots. It's a choice. It's a very much a choice, and it depends on the project. For example, the project what I'm working on right now, this is one layer of the piece. So the front is, this side is the front and this side is the back. I want to make both side as clean side because there's not going to be any covering. If I have a knot, or if I have knots, if I make knots, it's very obvious that this is the back side. I would like to avoid it, so I make no knots. When I work on some mending on the denim, sometimes it's impossible to make kasane to stop it. Then I make knots. So it is okay. It is very okay to make knots, and it is okay to make no knots. The point I always ask is that I want you to be able to choose. So if you decided to not to make knots, that's perfectly fine. You will learn that. But I don't want you to be in the status of I cannot make knots. Vice versa too. If you decided to make knots, that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, I don't want you to say that I don't know how to make knots, therefore I will make knots. So I don't want you to make it as an excuse. I just want to make sure that you can do both. There's a big difference between can't and don't. And as long as it's a don't as a choice, I'm perfectly fine if you make not or nots. But traditionally, to answer your question, yes, there's a difference between the regions, difference between the even community, I guess. Some people in one community made a lot of knots, the other don't. So it varies. The book often explains or focus on one sashiko, one part of sashiko, and that's why I keep saying a lot of books are not wrong. They're not wrong, but insufficient. That doesn't explain the whole picture. So if one book say all sashiko makes knots, that's a very oversimplified statement because there is a sashiko which doesn't make any knots. So I just want to make sure that the sashiko, we pass down sashiko as a whole by introducing our sashiko, which is probably different from the other sashiko as well. Like, is there any good example, Sharon, besides pizza? I always use pizza as the example. Like, is there anything in Colorado like a different pizza? Some
Well,
significant different?
no, I mean, the big thing is pineapple on pizza, right? Some people think that's wonderful and some people think it's horrible.
Yeah, that's evil things to do for me. Like,
Yeah, well,
why
there you
why
go.
ruin that? Like, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful, perfect piece. Why do you ruin that? Why do they ruin? Like, why do they?
I think anchovies ruin it.
Oh, I love
But
it. Though.
everybody's different. See?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the same as sashiko too. Everybody,
Yeah.
there's no answer. Just, but at the same time, I think I should try at least once if I like the pizza with pineapple, which I haven't yet.
It's actually very good.
Really?
It's not spicy, yeah, but it's good. My mom likes it. I eat it.
Pineapple, like the pineapple.
Yeah. Little pieces. I just know people have strong opinions about it.
Yes.
So the piece that I'm working on right now, I'm doing no knots because it overlaps. But the other piece that I have in progress right now has lots of patches put onto a piece of linen. And
Wow.
I am using knots on this, and I'm going to make it into a bag, but it needs to be sturdy and it's very rustic. Mm-hmm. And so I think the knots, which are going to be on the inside and you'll be able to see, are okay. You know, you can see the fact that stitches go two directions. And so when I need it to be stronger rather than prettier, then I might put knots in, like a denim patching. I would definitely use knots because without knots, you'll end up with thread ends eventually as it wears out. So
yes, it's a choice. It's very much a choice.
Yeah.
That makes the piece more unique. Yeah. So all the knots is fine as well. If they find it beautiful too, that's perfectly fine. But I want them to understand why the Japanese people develop the technique or custom to not make a knot. So also the inside of the denim is it's a good idea to not to make a knot inside of the denim like what Sharon is doing right now, because that makes a significant difference when you wear that.
Yeah, this will still feel smooth. It's for a child, so if it had bumps and scritchy parts, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, I haven't stitched on denim for a long time. I should. Yeah, so
You know what I found though, over time, I have gotten really picky about what I will stitch on. I like soft denim. I love that fabric in the furoshiki. That was like the best to stitch on. I could do 20, 30 stitches on a needle easily.
This is the best fabric. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. But I will not. My niece wanted, she bought a jacket and wanted me to stitch on it. And it was stretchy denim, and it was very stretchy. And I did some pattern on the back, and it was okay because I put another piece of fabric to use, a gingham to use to help for the grid. But then when I ripped out 90% of what I put on that jacket. And then I finally just gave her with just that design on the back and said, I'm really sorry, I can't stitch on this. If you don't like it, we can take it out. What's there? But she liked it very well, which was good. But it was, and now I'm just like, no, I won't stitch on that. I'm not doing any more things like that. It's just too frustrating.
And the stretchy denim was even stretchy fabric. Like t-shirt would be the same idea, but it's so stressful to work on. And
hard to get tension right. You end up with too much thread all the time.
And it's like a, how can I explain that? Driving a car without brakes.
Yeah.
Like it's uncontrollable some point. The result is completely different from what we expected. And yeah, but that's good. That's good. Some people probably like the stretchy. I don't know if anybody likes it, but it's a good experience, and we find so fabric can be anything, but there will be big significance, preference, not a significance. So what's that? I have to show this. I want to make sure. I want to make sure. Sharon, if you, we will keep going a little more. So if you need to go, just let me know. Okay. Don't be pressured for that. I will. I wanted to ask one question, if it's okay. Are you still there? Yeah.
Yes, I am.
sorry. Have you had any experience with fraying kasane or like destroyed kasane? Like, have you ever seen any stitches come out from kasane? Like it didn't work?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I tried to ask pretty much everybody about it.
I do. Normally, I just do 2 stitches, but on the furoshiki, because I thought it could possibly get used. You suggested doing 3, so I did 3 or 4 for that whole thing. And I avoid. Well, there's not really jumping. You could jump at the end of lines, I guess, but I ended every single one.
Yeah, I mean, it's same here too. I don't really jump for this one.
No, but to do the hemp leaf pattern, the asanoha, and not jump would be frustrating to me, I think.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it would be too many starts and stops after you did the long lines. So that would be hard.
But my question is like, did the kasane come out? Like the stitches came out because
no, I haven't had it come out. No. And I've put patches on where I have done the kasane on the patch, right? It's just, but then when I put the patch on the pants, I tend to use a knot. Yeah.
So that's your standard of, not a standard, like
a
procedure to
That's just how I usually do it.
Yeah, that's what matters, and that's what we call wisdom. That's what we call, style, I guess. I am so glad to see you doing that. Because if this kasane comes out, which means either I am not teaching well or there might be something we didn't understand each other. So kasane shouldn't come off. Well, as long as the thread is right. So
well, and I don't trim it. I don't trim it until after I've washed it. Yeah, and the thread is very different then, right? The ends are fuzzy. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping I'm believing you, it will become part of the fabric and not come out.
It won't. If it doesn't come out after the first washing, Ms. Doshi, it does not come out.
Yeah.
It actually becomes much more difficult to take it off.
Yeah. Well, I have never tried to remove it after washing it either. I have drawn patterns and then gone, no, that's not what I'm doing, and washed it to get rid of the pattern.
Yeah. Well, after it became a part of fabric, just give up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Cover it with something else, right?
Yes. I hate to say it. Giving up is not my word, but don't. You have to pick one stitch by one stitch, and you might want.
Oh, that would be very bad.
It's the night. Well, I didn't. I gave up. I'm sorry, but I gave up. So that's the first time I thought I want to use the flat. Come on, something like sandpaper, flat. Something to shade, not a shade, form. Sandpaper flat. File. There we go. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Because if I use the file,
it would break the thread and you could get it off. Yeah.
I thought so, but it's gonna destroy all the fabric. So
yes.
Not only the Sashiko fabric, but it's like a too old, like a year-old bandage. You don't want to even take it out. You might want to consider it as a skin. Yeah, it's okay. This is a skin. So
there we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, I think I was talking too much and I had a little problem. I don't usually get those.
It happens. It happens. That means you're not focusing at all.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, you're not focusing on stitching at all, yet you were stitching. So that's very good.
It's like driving where all of a sudden you go, oh, where am I going?
Perfect example, yes. But stitching is much safer because you'll not be charged.
That's true. That's true.
The worst case scenario is the bleeding fingers.
Yep. Poke your finger. And that's only if you're working on white fabric.
Yeah, if you're working on borrowed, the blood might be actually.
It's already been bled on.
Nice addition to your flavor. I'm using this borrow, but there's so many blood already for some reason. See, like, I was gonna pass it down to my daughter, but she probably will refuse it.
Is that your muffler?
Yeah. Yes, like it's more like a borrow to be.
Yes.
I was patching. It's doing good. I'm using it, but
if it's just little spots, you can cover them up.
Yeah, I will cover it up. But if she watch this live streaming, if she find out this is my blood, she might say, "Hi, my father is." I'm expected that.
When my daughter was a teenager, she wanted to knit a scarf for her boyfriend for Christmas or Valentine's Day. Oh. And so we sat down and I said, okay, I'll show you how to knit. Well, she's not a visual learner. She's an auditory learner. So she says, no, you have to tell me how to knit. So we're sitting next to each other. She's got her knitting needles and her yarn, and I have to do each thing and then describe it in words so she can do it. It was so frustrating. She did knit scarf though.
So she listen and understand how to do it.
Yes, she listens to learn.
Wow.
She doesn't see to learn. She would not have learned well in your situation when you were a kid. Learning Sashiko.
No voice whatsoever, no sound. And I don't think I can teach her that. Well, I can try, but wow, that's a good skill though. Especially in this age, this society. Listening is very efficient, I guess.
Yeah.
That's the word.
I like to have a podcast or something or music or something when I'm stitching alone.
That's a very good one. The problem of this running stitch, like unshin, getting comfortable with unshin, is that we need some. It becomes like exactly like driving. You need kind of something to not to completely.
Yeah, I have to listen to a book on, audible books when I'm driving so that I stay awake.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same as Sashiko too.
Yeah.
Have you tried like drinking? Do you drink?
Drink? No, I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
Does drinking work with stitching? I don't drink.
If anybody watching this drinks, try it. It's very good. I decided to not to drink until 2000XX, so I'm not drinking at all right now. But when I was drinking, jazz and whiskey and Sashiko was the best combination.
Oh,
It was so good
that's funny.
that I don't remember stitching my fingers, and next morning I feel like, wow, why is it so red? What's going? Why? People. I think a lot of people. Well, probably not in Japan because it was the women's work, and they were not, that privileged. They were more like suppressed in the family. So they probably wouldn't be able to drink much, but this is it. This is exactly what I want to do, talking about something and sharing it to the world. So this will be the place for somebody. Somebody might be just watching it. If you want to join this live Zooms, I'm happy to have anybody at this moment. I will prioritize the people who I know, of course, but I'm happy to have anybody. Can you believe it has been almost 2 hours?
What?
I'm not joking. It has been. Is it just a second? Isn't it? It is 2 hours.
Oh, that's shocking. No, I would have guessed maybe an hour.
It is 2 hours.
Well, I sit and stitch all evening anyway, so.
Okay, a little more then. So it is the thing, yeah. Probably the same thing, either on live or off live. You will be stitching anyway, so it's
Right.
really helpful for me to have somebody to talk to. Do you stitch every day? Do you do?
Yes. Well, almost every day. I mean, I would like to every day. Yeah, I do. I think every day, because if I haven't during the day, at least after dinner, it's like, okay, now I can sit down and stitch. And it's like my treat. Yeah. It was hard when both my parents were recovering from their knee replacements because I did not have very much time to myself. I didn't ride my horse for 2 months, but I could stitch some because I could put it down whenever I needed to.
Yeah. Wow. That explains your work though. That's so beautiful. Not only beautiful. How can I say? It's very, very. Let me find a good word for that. I always say encouraging. That's my personal, feedback. That's my personal impression, but more like embracing is, I don't know if it's a good English, but it's beautiful and kind of covering it. Your Sashiko is not strong in my understanding. It's not like like my Sashiko is kind of attacking. It's more
It's
like
what?
attack, not attacking, but kind of insisting, strong or kind of troublesome. I know who I am, so. But your stitches are very welcoming and well.
That's a funny, I don't see yours as, I don't, well, that's very nice. But now I've lost my thread. It must be on the ground somewhere, right?
Oh, go ahead. You lost your thread or needle?
Yeah, the whole skein is gone.
Oh,
There it is.
all right.
All right.
Well, when we haven't met, so when you meet in person, check my stitching. It's very different from the others. Like, wow. Not attacking. How do you say that? Particular. There we go. Troublesome. No. English is very difficult. Sometimes I cannot express that in Japanese too. So there are things we cannot describe in word.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, this live streaming, I will try to make it more periodic.
Frequent?
Huh?
More frequent or more regular?
Like it might be regular or frequent for sure. I used to offer only once per month or something like that. So I want to make sure that I can keep going so I can practice how to film it. Yes, we can make it periodic. At the same time, we can invite some other, friends whenever they are available. So whenever you can join, please join. And if you have any questions, please let me know so we can talk about it together. And I can ask. It's very good to ask the other people what they think. Ideally, ideally, if I could invite some Japanese who knows Sashiko and English together, that's gonna be a nice addition. But
That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. But asking somebody else who are learning Sashiko is a very good addition too. So if you have any questions, we are happy to try to the topic. Next time I'm gonna bring some topic to talk to. I cannot believe that we did it for 2 hours without topic. Like we didn't have any preparation before this. Like she joined the live Zoom, we just clicked the button. We just said, "Hello, how are you? Long time no see." Blah blah blah, and we just clicked. Right? So
yep.
We will prepare, but the practice makes it better, and I would like to keep offering it. And I wish people listen to this as if it's a radio or podcast while they stitch as well, so we can share the same moment. That was a beautiful summary, wasn't it? Please let me finish my stitching. I don't want to finish with the thread left. It's very selfish reason.
You don't ever just put the needle in like this and walk off?
Not my. Well, I mean, it's my style that I always try to finish the stitches. That's why I cannot do 5-minute stitches.
That's funny because I think I was the mother of 3 children, and so I have always to be able to walk away. Put it down, pick it up again later.
I should be able to do that. It's much easier for me to stitch more. For some reason, I can't. Well, it's my limit. I'm saying I can. I don't. It's not don't. So I know I shouldn't really limit myself, but yeah, it's really difficult for me to see the like even this much thread left. If I put it on the pink cushion like this and leave it, It's okay, but it bothers me a lot.
It also makes it easier to find where you were.
That's a very good point. Yes.
Because I've seen you really struggle. Where was I stitching?
And well, it's kind of secret, but it's kind of good to search for the last place you stitch because you might find the errors on the. Oh, that's an excuse. I'm sorry. That was a really. It's one of the.
That's a nice pattern that you're working on. It's very satisfying because you get to stitch and stitch and stitch.
This one, right?
Yeah.
It's my mother's favorite pattern.
I can see why. And I love the jackets she's made out of that. Yeah. They're really pretty.
We used to draw it by hand. I mean, not she. I didn't. I'm not really. I don't want to do this. She used to draw it by hand, but it's so it's not easy pattern to draw by hand. So we asked the printing company to transfer on the fabric. It was pretty costly because this ink is washable, and this is quite big fabric, but it was probably worth it.
Oh, it is washable. That's good. I guess I didn't wash my thing after I finished it.
Did you?
Oh, no, I did. I just didn't notice.
Is it still there?
I doubt it. I should go look. I'll go look. Look at me walking away.
Oh, you can walk away. Don't worry about it.
It's right here. Okay, so there's the front.
Let me see. I'm sorry. I want to see it.
That's the front. Yes, it washed away.
Wow, the back is so beautiful too.
You said it had to be. This project, we had to do it correctly.
You did correctly.
I did make smaller loops at the edge than you do.
Did you clip it off? I don't see that.
No, I just made them very small. They're like the head of one of a glass pen, just a little tiny. Can you see there? Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Wow, it's beautiful.
But every once in a while, when you try to make them small, every once in a while you pull it completely through, and then you have to go back and fix it.
It's troublesome, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It might be the first time to see your back, though.
Yeah. Well, I put a picture on Instagram, but I don't know. Yeah, this part is not as pretty on the back because I made all the crossings, most of the crossings be on the front, which I like. And I noticed somebody else was showing theirs, and they did kind of the traditional no crossings on the front, which I thought was interesting.
It's their choice. It's up to them.
Yeah, it's fun.
No right or wrong.
Yeah, I like seeing how all the threads come together and then go apart.
Less than 2 years. See, like I think it's a jealous. If I have to say my honest feeling, it's a jealous. 2 years, less than 2 years, Sharon. Wow. But yeah, that's how. So your stitches are kind of bigger in the front and smaller on the back. Kind of.
Yes. I would say.
60,
I would.
40?
Yeah. Maybe even 2/3, 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to be careful when I stitch from the front to make sure. Then I make them pretty even, because otherwise I'll make them big on the back, and like with the patches and stuff where you want it to show. If I'm stitching from the front, I have to adjust the way I'm stitching so that it doesn't look wrong.
Yeah. Do you think you can control it? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I can think about it. Okay. Here's what I'm working on now. So there's the front. Yeah, it's still there a little bit bigger on the front than the back.
That's mine's. If I don't pay attention, it's going to be like 80% bigger on the front and 20% small. I mean, my stitches, if I don't pay attention.
I've worked against that, because then sometimes you end up with just a couple threads and it looks like you didn't go back, So yeah, I think I've tried to make them more even, but not even. I don't know.
Hmm?
And on the furoshiki, I really was trying to get the rhythm with a little smaller stitches, and I think that worked.
I can tell. It looks fantastic.
It's easier to do the smaller stitches on a thinner fabric too than denim. Yeah.
I mean, if it's denim, kind of, we have to be careful.
Yeah.
It
It doesn't want to fold up too well.
You could break the needle.
I haven't broken any since I started using the non-tulip. I did break 3 of those before.
I am talking to them right now. I am talking with 3 of them. Wow, I'm talking to them now that there's a report, and I think like that needle is made based on my mother's advice. Bikai straight, tulip Bikai straight is made by my mother's feedbacks. But I think they did not imagine the case of stitching on the denim much.
Yeah.
So as long as stitching on the fabric like this, I don't.
Oh, you probably couldn't break it on that, could you?
So.
Yeah. Did you see somebody did Sashiko stitching on work boots?
Work boots?
Work boots, leather work boots. They would have to punch each hole and then do the stitching. And the boots are almost kakishibu colored, and they did it with indigo thread. It was really beautiful, but it looked like so much work.
I respect so much that I would like to talk to those people. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Punching the hole and
well, I did some Sashiko stitching on paper, and you have to punch the holes. It just doesn't work right. And the paper won't fold up, of course, like the fabric will. So it's not very satisfying. It's very slow.
So we can pretty much stitch on anything. It doesn't have to be fabric. It can be, as you say, paper. The Japanese washi paper, if you wet it, you can use as the fabric. Kind of. And
then will it go flat again later if you iron it or something?
And you can use it for the lampshade or something. But like, what's the
I
point
would do it on the fabric and then make a lampshade.
That's my point. Like, why don't you do it with the fabric?
Yeah, that would be easier.
Why expensive paper?
Right.
So, but any fabric is good. It's just a preference, and I think I prioritize the experience of stitching rather than the result. So if it's not good, if it doesn't give me the pleasure, I don't know if it's okay to say that. If it doesn't,
I have gotten there too now. Yeah. People will say, "Oh, will you do a jacket?" I'm like, "Well, if it's the right fabric, let me touch it."
Yeah, probably you don't know it, but I used to offer the commission work to stitch.
Yeah, I saw that on your website.
I decided not to do it because I had to ship it back several times because of the exactly same reason you explained.
Oh, it would come in like, I can't stitch on that, or I won't.
I can't.
What if it was a brand new pair of that selvage denim? It's so stiff. It would be like sewing on sandpaper.
You probably need a puncher too. That's gonna be.
I'd rather do the boots. At least they're small.
Well, the denim is. I asked them to use it first until the fabric gets super thin, and I asked them to wash it. Some people hate to wash it, but I really have to ask them to wash it because, I will be stitching like this. So.
Yeah, you don't want to be stitching on dirty clothes.
Dirty is fine, but stink is a little. It's not gonna give me the pleasure.
No,
I'm not that kinky yet. No, I'm not gonna have a. I have to be really careful. The English is so difficult.
I learned German and then French and then Dutch And I have to admit that I always purposely did not learn the swear words because they're way too easy to say in a second language. There's no emotional taboo.
See?
It's just poof, it comes flying out.
See? You know how difficult it is that I do not use those words?
Well, because you were here in college, so I'm sure you learned them.
What do you mean? Yeah. But like my textbook was South Park.
It was what?
South Park.
Ah.
Like, Cartman is my
Yeah.
hero. So my English was very bad. The first movie I watched in the US, like right after my, the first year, freshman, right after the airport, the first day, no, that was the third day of the college after making those, social security cards, stuff like that.
Yep.
The first movie I watched was The 8 Mile, like Eminem's 8 Mile movie.
Oh,
I wanted to go back to Japan because I understood nothing. Zero. Like, what is going on in this movie? So it's not because of of course, because of the accent, but all the slangs, all the swear words. But I really have to be careful when I do the live streaming because I try to not use those words.
I haven't noticed you using any, so
I'm doing my best. Like, my wife sometimes watch this live and she said, she's surprised. You can't speak, you can't talk without those words. It's like, why don't you? Well, I am mindful when I stitch. When I talk to my wife, I don't think I'm mindful so much.
Ooh.
Well, that's a very good way to keep the marriage, right? Like, I think that's the advice I could give my future son if my daughter decided to marry. I mean, nodding is the best thing we can do.
Nodding.
Well, like, I used to try to offer my opinions or my feedback to the conversation, but that was not something she was looking for.
Oh, probably sometimes. I heard somebody say when a spouse was describing a situation, it was, do you want solutions or do you want to vent? And if they want to vent and talk, they just want you to say, yes, that's hard, and not give them ideas for how to fix it.
Exactly.
Just the listening ear.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't have to, if I become mindful and if I try to be helpful, then that's not what she is willing to receive. So if I kind of, trip somewhere and then stay there and say, yes, of course I'm listening. That's the way to go. I mean, I'm not, making fun of it. It's pretty much the key. That's sometimes I say that we are not on the same page. What she's asking, what the conversation partner is asking is different from what I'm offering, then we can fight. It's going to be fight. So she knows she's a doctor. She has a PhD, and she's the clinical psychologist. So she knows everything. Not everything, but she knows she knows things better than I do. So
she probably knows what you're thinking even when you're nodding.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like, why am I nodding? But that's good. That's how we find the peace in the family.
Yeah.
And that's also preference too. Each family is different. And there's no such a thing as we should or we shouldn't. Okay, has been how many hours by now? Okay. I will try to wrap it up. Wrap it up. Thank you so much. Can I see you stitching well, you rather not to share it now.
Oh, we could show. I will take it out of this. Oh, just a second.
Oh, thank you, Mary. I got a comment. Just a second. Thank you for this live chat. I new to Sashiko, still fumbling through my first attempt on old denim or old jeans. It is a pleasure listening to you both. I look forward to your future live streaming. Thank you so much for listening. Sharon is very good at doing on the denim, so check her work on the Instagram. I will put. Is that okay if I put your Instagram on this?
Sure, thank you.
Of course, absolutely. Look at that. Just a second. I don't know if I can. Wow.
So that's the thing I'm not sure if I'm going to keep.
So if you decided to not to keep it, do you take it off?
Well, I would just remove this part. I'd cut it at the center and remove it. And then when I wash it, I can trim it. It'll be all right. And then I would just put more of the triangles there. But
Okay.
I will see what I think when this has the same pattern down here,
Mm-hmm.
if I think it's okay or not.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I
Sometimes you try things and it doesn't please you.
That's one thing about Sashiko. Like we can imagine, we can plan things. Like this must be a very good combination, like white thread and some like I'm sorry, the blue fabric and red thread. It's gonna be a beautiful combination. The result sometimes is not as we imagine after stitching. That's so difficult.
Well, and I find that's often true when you picked a colored thread. It ends up just looking like it's almost white, no matter what color it is.
That's very true too. But do you take it outside of the house? Try under the sunlight. It might.
Oh, you think then you can see the colors different more? Okay, I will try that with my patchwork thing. That'll be a good idea.
Shine differently. So my mother's jacket looks like rainbow when you take outside.
Oh, neat. Even though you don't notice the colors otherwise.
Well, you will realize the color a little bit, but she used 20, sometimes 20 colors on one jacket.
Oh, wow.
But it looks like, few colors difference, like red, purple and blue and stuff like that. But since she used like 10 or 20, not more than 20, but 10, 20 colors, when you take it outside, it looks like color prism.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
Huh. So, well, I'm working on the same thing. It's a boring same thing, but that's all good. But I enjoyed it. It might be boring for live streaming, but I enjoyed it. That's what matters. Okay. Where's the camera? There's the camera. All right. Thank you so much, Sharon, for this great live streaming. I will stop the YouTube. If you're watching this, you may leave the comments with a question so I can use that as the next topic. Thank you so much for coming to the live streaming. We will offer that sometimes in the future, regularly, hopefully, and much sooner than like it used to be, like every month or so. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye-bye.